Hi there. If you're a big fan of comic book artistry, you'll be so glad you stuck around for more Explore Tulsa.
Did you read a lot of comic books growing up, Stevie?
Well, I did. I remember my grandpa would always take us out and buy us one when we'd be shopping with him. And later, as a teen, I got hooked on Mad Magazine.
Oh, well, that definitely explains a lot about who you are now. Maybe you have a lot in common with our next guest.
Well, there's no doubt that we both love drawing, but Terry Tidwell has a talent that I can only dream of.
When I was about 4 years old, I started drawing comic strips. And as I recall, it was mainly about dinosaurs chasing cavemen. But yeah, I was drawing at a very, very young age, and I was drawing comic strips. What enabled me to make a living at it? Well, first of all, I showed my work to a Marvel editor. Jim Shooter gave me my first break, and he wanted me to come to New York, which I did, and I brought my art with me, and I started picking up work from Marvel and DC Comics, and then a lot of the independent comics. In fact, I created with John Woolley. He's a pretty famous writer here in Oklahoma. You probably heard of him. He used to work for the Tulsa World. Well, he and I created several comic book series. He would write them and I would draw them, and we worked for a lot of independent companies back in the 80s. So we've got 2 Twilight Avenger graphic novels, and the Twilight Avenger was set in Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 30s. So in the backgrounds there's lots of Tulsa buildings and stuff like that. And as the Twilight Avenger, the other one is the Miracle Squad, and it's about a place called Miracle Studios. It's what I named my studio after. I'm the real Miracle Studios, but we did a fictitious version, which was a really Poverty Row Hollywood studio back in the 1930s. And it's about their adventures fighting a gang that's trying to take over their studio. And then one of my favorite books, something I created, and then John came in and wrote it, was a book called The Uncanny Man-Frog. And it was serious, but it had quite a bit of humor in it, and it was, I've always been really interested in science and engineering and stuff, so it was a book kind of based on genetic engineering, manipulating the genes in human embryos, and it made this creature called Man-Frog. And he wasn't a superhero, he's just a regular guy, but he looked like a freak. His hands were webbed, and I don't know, I really liked working on that book. Right now, I still do comic book type strips, like stuff like this, and cartoons, and one thing I do is a lot of this stuff. This is storyboards for like TV commercials and stuff. And it's, as you can see, it's very comics related. Well, I quit my engineering job. I used to be a civil engineer with the Army Corps of Engineers here in Tulsa. So I quit my job because it turned out I was going to make more money working on Miracle Squad and Twilight Avenger. So I was all excited, but within a couple of months, there was a big crash in the independent comics market, and my books just plummeted, and couldn't publish them anymore, or my publisher, they weren't making any money. So I thought, well, I'm gonna have to go back being an engineer, which I like being an engineer. But as a last ditch effort, I went to some advertising agencies in Tulsa, and they go, well, this is great, we can use you for storyboards. So I made a lot more money in commercial art, and right now I'm thinking about trying to do a graphic novel. I'd kind of like to get back into comics, maybe on the side. And I'm thinking about maybe asking Marvel or DC or one of the companies to sign me like an 8-page story a month, and something I think I could handle in addition to my commercial work. I'm incredibly lucky that I can work on what I want to work on. And this was always my dream, even as a little kid. I loved to draw, and I don't know, I grew up playing sports and stuff too, but I love drawing, and now that's what I'm doing for a living. it's the best, I think.